What is up, guys? It's the Sound Alchemist, and I'm here with
Gersh1.
And once again, we're back to answer your questions in another For the Greater.
This is a video series where we answer the questions left by you, the viewer. If you have a question for us, comment down below. Put question in front of your question because we get to those questions first. That is what Juan Lopez did. He asks, "Hey guys,
J-Lo?
J-Lo. Hey guys, imagine that a remnant of the Men of Iron somewhere in the galaxy comes back. They renew the war against humanity. They build millions more of themselves and attack everything in their path with their rumored super cool weapons of the age of technology. Is the galaxy, not just the Imperium, in a position to fight such a conflict if it is as wide and brutal as told from that age? Could it almost or totally break a current main faction? Could it be beneficial to any faction?" So,
Very spicy question.
yeah. To answer like the main question, is the Imperium or is the galaxy ready for that? Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
Because I think the Men of Iron would be weaker than the Tyranids, and the Tyranids have been raging for a while now, probably a millennia, right? Because they came in the 41st.
41st, yeah.
Yeah, with rumors that they came 36, but yeah, yeah.
The thing about, if you have no idea what the Men of Iron are, they were essentially robots and AI that was used to bring humanity to their height. And then they rebelled. So think of iRobot, think of like the Terminator movies. That's basically the main core concept. And just like those movies, humanity was overwhelmed by it. And nowadays they're better prepared. They've got a boom in population, and there's the Imperial Guard to protect them. And of course, they've got the Inquisition and the Custodes, the Space Marines. So I think they're better equipped to take on that threat. And it's not going to be such a big of a threat as back then because of the military might that they currently have.
And technically, there is no real AI, or there shouldn't be any real AI anymore. And the big problem with the Men of Iron is basically you had the enemy within that hurt the colonists or the ancient human empire. It's like basically like you're relying on your computer to give you information, and all of a sudden it grows arms and it starts to choke you. Like obviously, like you don't expect the computer to do that to you.
But it's a welcome change.
But now with the Imperium, like everything has to be partially human or partially biological, which is why you had like servitors and stuff like that. So you do have a no man's land, basically.
Right.
A buffer between the Men of Iron that are going to rise up and then the rest of the military force of the Imperium. And yeah, I think every faction would be ready. Like the Eldar would be able to fight them off. Orcs would love it.
Yeah.
Because like mechs would love these giant terraforming Men of Iron, because that's what they were. Like they were giant serpents that could create canyons, you know, for terraforming purposes back in the day, but obviously they used it for destruction. So it would be dangerous, or the orcs would probably improve or benefit a lot from the Men of Iron coming back. The Tau, I don't know. What do you think of the Tau?
They could easily implement the AI because they already use AI for their drones, and they're close to making it sentient. So maybe that's the edge that they need to become that. Because there are a lot of theories that say that maybe the Tau are going to experience their own machine revolt. But we'll just have to wait and see. I don't think they will, because obviously they already touched base on it with humanity. But still, it's definitely a theory out there.
Yeah. But yeah. And then like the Tyranids or the Necrons, it's like the Necrons are far more advanced.
Yeah.
So
I don't know would you want to see that be like a playable race on the tabletop?
Yeah, definitely. Just because it would look cool. I don't know how I feel about the aesthetic of the Men of Iron, because if you check out the Blackstone Fortress, one of their main models is a Men of Iron, and it just looks like an old school robot.
Yeah, like a 50s robot.
Yeah, and I don't know if I like that aesthetic in 40K.
If anything, instead of them doing a Men of Iron faction, I would want them to do a Dark Mechanicus. That, because I mean, you already have the two concepts there. Chaos, Skitarii, combine it.
Yeah, that does bring another point too. That adds the warp element or the magical element to it. Whereas like if it's just the Men of Iron and just the Men of Iron, not the Dark Mechanicus, then there's an entire phase called the psychic phase that they can't utilize at all.
Mm-hmm.
So it's another Tau.
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah. Good question, though.
Yep. This one's by Bunny Hop. What would be one character that you would hate to see die in the lore, and why?
Gilliman, because he just came back.
Yeah. Also, I don't know, because I feel like if you kill a Primarch, whoever killed him is going to have, like, a lot of notoriety, and it's, like, going to be game-changing. Because you don't expect Gilliman to die.
Right, yeah. Especially because he just came back.
You're right. In terms of storytelling, if you bring back a Primarch, it's big news, and you could easily make money off of it with, like, models, storylines, that kind of thing. And if you kill him off, it's like, whoa. It's like, this doesn't make sense business-wise.
Yeah.
So it's like, what does this mean? What does this mean for the future of 40K? If Gilliman can die, anybody can die.
Yeah. Any other character?
I feel like Farsight, because if you kill him off, I feel like you're ending all the possibilities of what could happen with, like, finding out the truth about the ethereals. It's like Gilliman's dead, so then you basically just cut off the head for one of the most interesting aspects of Tau lore. Because they're basically making their own society. They're trying to find out why the Tau are so obedient to the ethereals. And it's like, well, if you cut that off, then it's just like the greater good, and that's it.
Yeah, and you would cut off, like, all the leadership of the Tau.
Mm-hmm.
Because without Farsight, then the other one, Anva, right? Or which one is it?
Anshi.
Yeah, he's supposed to be dead.
Mm-hmm.
So it's just
No,
like...
Anva, yeah, he's dead. That's the Space Pope, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So then now you're just left with Shadow Sun and a couple of other ones that are kind of like minor characters.
Maybe that would mean Okais gets more screen time, because there's basically none.
Who's that?
So there's supposed to be 3 pupils that studied under...
Anva?
No, what's his name? So you had Puretide, Commander Puretide. He was like the guy that wrote the Book of War for the Tau, and then you have his best 3 generals, which was Shadow Sun, Farsight, and Okais. And obviously we have models and lore for those 2, but not much on him.
That'd be kind of cool.
Mm-hmm.
GW should focus on that story instead of focusing on whatever they're focusing on right now with the Tau, which is nothing.
Yeah, that's true. There's a lot that, like, the GW should get on. Like, the Crone Swords for the Eldar, it's like, you just stop that story mid. Like, it was going strong, you have a new god being birthed, you find out that the fingers of Vol are the actual swords that aren't actually swords, because some of them could be spears, and it's like, well, that's it.
Yep.
Isn't there, like, one more that they gotta find? No, that's it.
And I think the reason for that is like, let's check sales. Okay, never mind.
You guys don't want Eldar lore.
Yeah.
Nobody bought the triumvirate of the Eldar.
Yeah. Next question comes from Ethan Paredes. Can the people unionize? The people in 40K, yeah, they can try to unionize. I'm pretty sure that there are some planets like Hive Worlds where a union does form. It just seems like if I'm a planetary governor and I have limited resources and the Imperium really only cares about my tithes, I'd want to maintain a somewhat or like some degree of like calmness amongst my people, and giving them a union that at the end of the day is really just controlled by me might be a good way to keep them calm, which is kind of what unions are nowadays, right?
Pretty much, yeah.
Next question.
This one's by Martin von Posen. Now that the Imperium is essentially split in 2 parts, the Imperium Sanctus and the Imperium Nihilus, by the Great Rift, how is it that communication can travel between the 2?
They still have astropaths. Yeah.
Yeah, because any type of communication or the travel or the gaining of supplies is really difficult because you need warp travel. Astropaths are huge for the Imperium to keep working as the war machine that they are. Take the astropaths out, and I'm pretty sure the Imperium will crumble very, very soon.
Yeah, and they have huge like choirs, especially on Terra. So you have like an entire huge structure dedicated to just receiving astropathic messages from across the galaxy. And then you have the Astronomicon, which is basically just like a booster to your signal. So that helps out. This question comes from King Naga. What is the outro song you use in your videos? It's a DJ by the name of Municipal Vice. He's from Chicago. We have a link down in the description below. You can check out his SoundCloud. He hasn't been producing much lately because COVID and fear and all that. But yeah.
This one's by Indefinite Chris. Speaking of plot armor, who do you think is the biggest Mary Sue in 40K?
What does Mary Sue mean again?
Basically, who has the most plot armor, who has the most overpoweredness.
Oh. I think right now the popular one is Marnius Calgar.
Yeah. Sicarius is also a big one. Pretty much any Ultramarine.
Yeah.
Because they're the face of 40K.
Yep.
But at the same time, Drago was a huge one back in the day, doing feats that like Primarchs couldn't even do.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's funny too because you might say like, oh well, that's the thing with all of them, but no, not really because what's the one that God School went up against?
Ragnar Blackmane.
He died. Like they killed him, and then they brought him back to life.
Yeah.
So yeah.
I think that's their like cop out. It's like, oh no, a main character died. Well, let's just make him a Primaris.
Yeah. This question comes from, excuse me, which Primarch did the Emperor like the least?
Lorgar.
You think it was Lorgar?
I mean, look how he treated him.
I think he treated him because Lorgar kept being a little bitch, but I don't think he disliked him. I think like the person that he disliked the most is probably the one that he paid the least attention to, which was either Perturabo or the Night Haunter. Because the Night Haunter from the beginning was like, you're going to betray me. That must be annoying.
Not just me, but us. I think that was his thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Whereas Lorgar was just like, I worship you. So maybe all the chaos gods.
He hated everybody. Yeah. Let's just be honest.
Yeah. They were all a means to an end.
Mm-hmm.
He didn't care about them.
No.
This next question comes from Metro Ranger. Is it possible for a demon to switch gods? And if so, could it fight for the God Emperor? No, that's not how it works.
Mm-mm. Yeah, demons are literally created by the essence of the god they come from. So it's not like Khorne's going to be like, I'm going to create some Slaaneshi demonettes. No. Khorne creates Khorne demons.
Yep. If you have a worshiper, the same thing. A worshiper, like once you go with Nurgle, you're not really going to be able to switch or take that off.
Right. Think of it as like signing your soul to that god. There's no, like you're not in possession of that soul. It's 2 Change Alliance, so it's always going to be whatever patron god you have.
Blood in, blood out, Holmes.
Mm-hmm.
Now, you could be like someone like Be'lakor who's going to get a new model and just be undivided and then side or lean more towards one god on a particular day or a particular battle.
Mm-hmm.
You could do that.
Because I think the lore states that he tricked the Chaos Gods into all of them giving him power. That's boss.
Super boss. Which is why he deserves a new model.
Yeah. Hopefully it's bigger. Like, I get they're going to make it more detailed and whatnot, but hopefully it's bigger. Because as badass, I already think the model's good. It's just too small.
Yeah.
Noah Westergaard. What would be the best chapter that would be a Steve Irwin themed chapter? I was going to say Carcharodons, but because they're sharks. So I'm like, oh, because he needs to be the crocodile hunter.
Because I was going to say, they do have that Polynesian type of... Wait, is Polynesian and Australia, those are probably not very similar, right?
I think they're close.
What are the indigenous people of Australia called? Aborigines? I don't know. But I was thinking of the... I did a 40 Facts video on these guys. Like, it's a hawk... Raptors. I think they're called the Raptors.
Aren't they like urban fighters?
No. They're jungle fighters.
Oh.
Yeah, from my understanding, they're supposed to be like kind of like scouts, and they're really sneaky.
So like Catachans, but Space Marines.
Yeah. So I think that would be kind of a Steve Irwin-like thing. Sticking fingers in buttholes.
This crocodile doesn't like when I do this. I'm going to do it.
Yeah. I think that's the only South Park episode I remember. Well, that and then the Mongolians breaking down my wall.
Oh, yeah. This one is by Gruff Bevin. If you didn't play the armies you currently play, what army would you play? We've answered this before.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I'm still going to stick with it. I'd say Eldar. even though I had the opportunity to play it.
Yeah.
But I just said no. I think learning a fourth army would just be too many rules. I already think there's a lot of rules to remember, but trying to learn a whole new army, that's too much.
Yeah. I think I would choose Imperial Guard.
Mm.
I have always been attracted to the aesthetic of Imperial Guard because they're just regular soldiers, and I love toy soldiers. But I never really wanted to play it because they're just toy soldiers, I guess.
Playing with my green army men today.
Mm-hmm. You could proxy.
Aren't they too big?
What, the Green Army Men?
Mm-hmm.
They have different sizes.
Mm.
Next question comes from Milo Nostepi. What kind of comedy, humor, or jokes exist in this setting? Have there been any notable examples of funny people in 40K? Let me think. Orcs are the closest thing.
Yeah.
Like there was an orc that went into the warp, came back 15 minutes before he left into the warp, and instead of like increasing his WAAAGH and unifying with himself, he fought himself because he wanted another copy of his favorite gun and destroyed the entire WAAAGH right there. So yeah, the orcs.
Yeah. Because I'm trying to think, and it's like there's no real humor in 40K. Because it's supposed to be grim dark.
Yeah, pain,
brooding,
suffering.
Batman personified.
Next one.
This one is by Tom Falk. If we try to ignore plot armor the best we can, who would win between the Custodes and the Legion of the Damned? I still think Custodes would win.
Yeah, I mean, they're experts at killing everything.
Mm-hmm. And Legion of the Damned are part of everything.
So they would die.
Yeah.
I agree. For sure.
Yeah, because the Legion of the Damned, they're very like...
wishy-washy.
Yeah, it's like the lore doesn't quite make sense because the lore for that hasn't been explained enough. Where it's like, you could have Legion of the Damned appear out of etherealness, take out the enemy, and then like dematerialize back. And you could have the Legion of the Damned appear at two places at the same time. So it's like... what are they? Are they real? Are they ghosts?
Either way, the Deptus Custodes could take them.
Yeah. Because they ain't afraid of no ghost.
This question comes from Cody Morris. Hey Gershwan, you said you don't think Tower controlled by mind control. What are your thoughts on the lore describing Farsight and other Fire Warriors right after the Ethereals died? Sounded like this confirmed mind control. Maybe I'm missing something. They were shocked, just like any other military force without a leader. They kind of scrambled and they were like, okay, so what do we do now? And then they realized, like, oh, we could just keep fighting. Because that's what it is, right? Like when you have a leader and he goes away, the group kind of like thinks about it for a second. And then it's like, oh, we could just keep doing the bullshit that we're doing before.
Yeah, but I think like their ideas, their main threat, instead of it, or the main goal, instead of it being to progress the greater good, went to like, there's some scary shit out in the galaxy. Like, we need to be taking care of this first.
Yeah, because like it becomes immediate. Mm-hmm. So like that's the whole point of leadership. Like the leadership is supposed to give you the greater good, like the grand picture. Mm-hmm. If you get rid of the leader who has the grand picture, then yes, you do become more centralized. That was the whole thing with there was, I forget what Roman leader, but he wanted to divide and conquer, because like as a unified force he was fighting against the, I think, Germanic tribes. They unified against Rome, but if he can take out individual tribes, then they're easier to kill, because these individual tribes care more about like their families and their situation going on right there. Whereas like that one leader that unified them, get rid of him, and then you could just take him out piecemeal. And I think that's what Farsight is. Or the Farsight Enclaves is. It's just like a small little piece of a grander thing that no longer has that grander thing. That's what I think.
Yeah. We'll see.
We'll see.
I still think it's mind control or like pheromone control or something. Because even the origins of the ethereals is very like, whoa.
Yeah.
because it's like the Tau were very primitive and they almost killed each other, and then these shining lights in the sky came down, and then it was like the ethereals, and they led them to this huge boon in technology. So it's like, how do you unify warring tribes that almost killed each other, that hate each other, into becoming this technological monster in such a short amount of time?
It could have just been, what is it called? Like the ancient aliens theories, where like because the information was never actually written down, it's just kind of like speculation now, and it becomes a story, kind of like the stories of most religions, where it's unified by this story of like this event between what would become the Fire Warriors and all the other castes. But who knows?
Yeah.
Because the cool thing too about the Tau Empire is I think they are grounded in reality, everything about them. Like from the fact that they use AI to the fact that they can't really use magic, which is the warp, or things like that. I think that's what makes them kind of cool too. Yeah. But those were the questions for today. If you guys have more questions for us, please comment down below. Thank you guys so much for listening. Talk to you tomorrow.
This has been the Sound Alchemist,
Gershwin.
and we are out.
Oh, if you could put my